a critical part of our childhoods. Whether you grow up with a mom like mine who buys Monopoly for millennials for you and your siblings to play over Thanksgiving break, or maybe you tune in every day to Wheel of Fortune. Bankrupt. Nice. Games shape our lives, but many games require something that we don't always recognize: memories. Certain things tend to stick into our heads forever, whether it be exactly where you were or what you were doing when the planes crashed into the Twin Towers on September 11th, 2001. Or maybe it's the games you used to play on the playground. Memories also shape our lives. So today, we'll gather around the table with Grandma and play some of the classics, as we first look at the science behind memories. Then we'll look at how we've advanced in our understanding of memories, and last, we'll examine some diseases responsible for the loss of memory, along with some steps that we should be taking every day to ensure that our memories last as long as possible. It's important that we understand how our memories shape us, because we shape the world. Our first game is one of Grandma's favorites, a true classic, concentration. We use this to examine the science behind memories. Neuroscientists have been trying to piece together the complicated puzzle that is to human memory since the early 1990s. Bad memories tend to stick into our heads more so than good memories. Smithsonian Magazine calls it the flashbulb effect, in which the very act of remembering an event tends to change our memory of that event. Memories are synaptic transmissions stored in neurons in the brain. The average human brain has over 100 billion neurons. Everything we do, driving a car, going to school, making a friend, requires knowledge of a past event or a memory. Messenger RNA, or mRNA, is responsible for coding for beta-actin proteins. Beta-actin proteins are responsible for shaping and structuring neurons. They're also responsible for drawing lines and making connections between past events and what's going on now. Retention of memories is extremely fragile. The misfiring of even one of these neurons can lead to either the total destruction or the storage of a memory. The hippocampus, which is a part of the brain, is responsible for a large portion of memory storage. However, proteins in the hippocampus can deteriorate. This has led scientists to answer the age-old question of long-term memory. Recent discoveries have led to the study of epigenetics as the long-term replacement. Epigenetics are the ability of a gene to turn on or off protein production. The ability of the human body to turn on and off protein production gives us the ability to store things into our long-term memories. Epigenetics are the reason that you can remember your middle school crush. Yikes. We only store the most important things into our long-term memories. Nothing reminds me more of my grandmother than the smell of talc powder and the sound of da 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 da. You guessed it, Jeopardy! Jeopardy game winner Ken Jennings describes his astonishing memory capacity when he tells Business Insider on March 1st, 2017, that it's not about how many hours you spend studying. It's about how engaged you are. For many of the contestants, the weeks leading up to the game show debut are spent choking down random facts about European leaders and origins of words. Information that seems pretty trivial to me. Here we have a Jeopardy board. Under each number is a question that corresponds to the category. We'll use this to examine how we've advanced in our understanding of memories. I'll be your host. Let's start off with ancient Greeks for 1600. First example of human curiosity goes back over 2,000 years to the publishing of the book On the Soul. Do you know who this groundbreaking dude is? Who is Aristotle. He theorized that the human mind was a blank slate with no prior knowledge at birth. Next, let's move to 18th century literature for 400. First to hypothesize that memory was encoded in signals in the nervous system. Who is David Hartley. Later, experiments that fed off of Hartley's hypothesis failed, but he still made groundbreaking discoveries when it comes to our current knowledge of memory. Next, we'll move to German biology for 2000. First proposed that experiments left a mark on the human brain, creating a memory. Who is Richard Simon. He's considered a founding father in physiology for his work towards memory research. Next, we'll move to Canadian figures for 800. In 1949, theorized that neurons fired off each other to create a memory, who is Donald Hebb. This name should sound extremely familiar because Hebb's rule is taught in many modern-day biology classes. And last, we'll move to Canadian figures for 200. Women in history for 200. In 1973, influential research regarding the misinformation effect and memory bias, who is Elizabeth Loftus. She theorized that the very act of remembering an event tends to change our memory of that event. Our memories are constantly changing to adapt to things that interest us, much like our knowledge is constantly having to change to adapt to things that develop in our world. We've come a long way when it comes to our current knowledge of memory, but we still have a very long way to go. Now, our last game is one that we all should be playing every single day, because it will make a difference in the end. Last, we'll complete a crossword as we look at some of the diseases responsible for the loss of memory. There are two major diseases responsible for the loss of memory. These are extremely common, so you'll recognize the names. The first of these is Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is shockingly common in our society, with over 3 million Americans being diagnosed every single year. Currently, over 5.7 million Americans are engaged in battle against this horrific disease. And even though we've made leaps and bounds when it comes to our research, this disease is still considered incurable. There are 7 stages to Alzheimer's, the first of these being prior to diagnosis. We then see no visible impairment. And finally, we enter minor cognitive decline, then mild, moderate severe, and finally severe decline, where Alzheimer's has taken full control, and the person you once knew and loved, and the memories that made them who they were, are wiped away. Alzheimer's is not the only disease that plagues our society and strips us of our memories. Another is dementia. Alzheimer's and dementia go hand in hand. In fact, according to the Alzheimer's Association, 60 to 80% of dementia cases are also considered Alzheimer's. In late 2016, my grandmother was diagnosed with dementia. Some days, she can tell you every event that led up to my birth. Every event. Some days, she can't tell you my name. We play games because it brings back a piece of her that we don't always get to see. Scientists have recently said that completing simple puzzles, like crosswords or word searches, or even engaging in simple mind games, like Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune, can actually help our memories last just a tad longer. They even go on to explain how maintaining a healthy diet and even simple physical exercise can help to ensure that our memories don't go at an early age. The human brain is magnificent, and we only get one, so it's important we take the steps now in order to ensure that our memories last. Each is individual and unique, and they're irreplaceable. So it's time that we stop focusing on the European leaders and the origins of words or other trivial things in our lives. It's time that we actually begin to remember the important things.